Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes kicks off a new trilogy for this franchise, but does it show any promise for the future? Hey everyone, welcome to Cinema, where we focus on the film. I'm Josh, this is Simply Cinema. Let me know in the comments below what your thoughts are on Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. What does it compare with the others, whether the very old ones or the most recent adaptations? I'll be doing a ranking in the future, so make sure to like this video, subscribe if you're ready to join in the film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. But going right into synopsis. Generations after the reign of Caesar, there's new factions of different gorillas that are growing up along the different rants, and this young ape that is going on to this new adventure, going on this journey and discovering different things that he didn't know about the past, showing different twists along the way as they discover the humans that are few and far between now. And discovering all this new information will ultimately lead to having the ape discover how to move forward with how the humans and apes interact in the near future. And going right into the positives, ultimately the culture of this world is expanded on in a fascinating way that I did not expect. For the turn of this franchise, I didn't expect what to go into this film as with what we're getting from the Eagles of the trailer and everything else, but becomes compelling by the nature of how they set up this young ape's world of Noah and how he deals with his family and the cultural vibe that builds up behind the background and being generations later becomes interesting just in the way they set up something very different, something that won't work for everyone, but is still fascinating and good and well written by the general vibe of how you're building up this new world that is still set in the same location, just all these different characters that are new to the franchise that you have to get into, but become compelling enough by the nature of how they're written to get you right into the meat of where we're leading up to and how we're sort of in the in-between time between what we got in the very first trilogy and sort of where we end up in the 1968 original, whether it ends up connecting in any way or not. Obviously, there's inconsistencies with how they set this up franchise that doesn't directly correlate to if they will decide to land in the same timeline, but in the general timeline that you're expecting based on the history that has all told. I just enjoy the nature that the different environments, different settings that this builds up, all the different side characters that you establish along the way, and having the stakes at a good level that it's not super dark, it's not as dark as Dawn or War for the Planet of the Apes, but it still has its level of intensity, and you can feel the emotions and the tension building up within all these characters as you get to know them since they're new for the first time, and discovering the trust and the culture between the humans and how they interact now, and what we're getting with the apes, and what you're all getting there. There's a separation between knowing if the humans are involved with this film or how often they are involved and how many are frequently going to be a part of it, and I'm not going to spoil some of the smaller details that are important to the film that become good for what they are offering to the world that is provided and what it is setting up, because this film stands well on its own, especially knowing what you get in the background, while also establishing good ideas for the future, not spoiling anything that's specifically going to happen in the future, but leaving a lot of possibilities for where we may be going with this franchise, with this trilogy in general, that establishes the characters. Noah is a good ape, and then also getting the Proximus Caesar, he's a really good villain as what he's setting up, the ideas and morals behind his beliefs, sort of in the same way what we get with Koba in the first trilogy, having their own ideas of what they know about the past, what they know about the reign of Caesar, how all these things have come to be set up with the history, and just the naiveness of what we get from Noah, having not known that information about the past and having to learn things and showing the pure nature of things that get forgotten, information that's get twisted along the lines as you're getting this new villain that doesn't fully abide by what Caesar was all about, all his morals, all his rules and guidelines, and just the general vibe of that. It's becoming compelling enough because it twists these characters into new directions that becomes unique for the franchise and also builds upon this world that is familiar, but still establishing some ground in building something interesting and compelling all throughout because of the nature of how you're getting all these characters going in these different directions, all of these people having to learn new information that we are familiar with, but getting to know the nature of how things are intermixed throughout the way becomes that much more compelling. But going into some of the mixed elements, like I said, some of the slower duration of the film won't work for everyone. It is a different feeling sort of Apes movie. It has that familiar texture of the world, of Earth, but obviously it's set post most of the humans, and while we are getting the humans, it's going to feel a bit different with the approach they go for it. It is more intricate in its writing for what it is tackling, and so it won't always work for everyone. It might not work for you, just with the general vibe of how it progresses. And we have a new director, that is Westfall. I think he's great and perfect for this. He has done the Maze Runner trilogy in the past. That may not say anything to, if you hate those movies, you'll hate this, but in the general approach, that's what I'm wanting to reference with how you might compare to what you may fit in with what the approach is with this franchise, because it's obviously different than Maze Runner franchise, but with the general vibe, the aesthetic can be generally the same with the filmmaking aspects, even if the world building is more expansive. In this one, the ideas are more fresh, but that also can turn some people off at the end of the day. And going right into the negative, at least for a first time watch, it is hard to handle everything that is going on by them hitting the reset button. In one sense, while it is taking place in the same timeline, it's not any sort of reboot or remake to this modern take on the Planet Apes. It is a new trilogy. It is taking place generations later, and so you're not getting all the familiar characters that you set up. Obviously, we're not getting Caesar, but the general vibe and aesthetic to it feels different, and it sort of takes a little bit, especially with the exposition and the build-up, getting to know the world. It is beautiful by the cinematography in general, but it is taken back a little bit just by the build-up, how you're having to handle everything, and it could improve upon rewatch just because the unfamiliarity of this new, fresh take on what you're getting, and the twists and turns of some things that are familiar that you're expecting already, and so it just holds it back a little bit. It has its good aesthetics and world building and writing that I do love as a whole, but like I was saying, there's something to be said about hitting the reset button on all these characters and taking a new generations later sort of approach to the franchise that does hold it back a little bit for me with its slow duration, especially near the beginning of the film as a whole. Therefore, I have to rate Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes an 8 out of 10, which was better than I expected, but not too bad as a whole. Let me know down in the comments below what you think of Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes. Give me all your thoughts and opinions on this. Should you watch it or should you not? Make sure to like this video and enjoy it if you enjoy it. Subscribe if you're ready to join in this film culture community where we talk about the love of cinema as a whole. Thank you for watching. Be sure to do yourself a favor and go watch a movie.